What if you've been throwing away valuable gold without even realizing it? Many people lose gold during processing because they don't understand how gold behaves inside rock. In this video, we'll explain the correct methods used to identify, separate, and recover gold from ore. You'll discover why crushing techniques, gravity concentration, and careful processing are essential for maximizing gold recovery. We'll also reveal the common mistakes that cause beginners to lose fine and microscopic gold. Whether you're a new prospector or an experienced miner, these principles can help you recover more gold from every sample. Stay with us as we break down the science behind efficient gold extraction using practical, easy-to-understand examples. Let's uncover the right way to extract gold and make every piece of ore count. In the hidden corners of ancient riverbeds and rugged mountain ridges, rocks lie scattered that hold within them one of Earth's most coveted treasures, gold. But extracting gold from those rocks isn't about alchemy or acid. It's about grit, fire, water, and the wisdom of methods as old as gold fever itself. This is the complete professional step-by-step journey of turning a gold-bearing rock into a gleaming nugget, using nothing but time-tested physical methods. This is a cinematic walk through the fire, stone, and water that reveal nature's richest metal. Step 1. Identifying the right gold-bearing rock. Before any extraction begins, the first step is one of the most critical: choosing the right rock. Gold doesn't just sparkle on the surface. It hides deep within specific types of stone. The most common types of gold-bearing rocks include quartz veins, iron-stained rocks, and sulfide-rich formations like pyrites. Look for white quartz with visible metallic specks, rust-colored rock with heavy mineralization, or even darker stones that shimmer subtly in sunlight. In some cases, the rock may contain visible gold flakes, but often the gold is microscopic, invisible to the eye, yet still waiting to be released. Professional tip: use a magnet. Many gold-hosting rocks carry magnetic minerals like magnetite or pyrrhotite. A positive magnetic response could indicate nearby gold. Step 2. Crushing the rock. The breakthrough begins. Once your rock is selected, it's time to crack it open. Crushing the rock is essential to free the trapped gold from its mineral matrix. Start by placing the rock inside a durable metal container, a steel mortar, or a thick metal pan. Then strike it with a heavy hammer or sledgehammer. You don't need industrial machinery. Raw force and patience work just as well. Break the rock into small, gravel-sized pieces, then into powder if possible. The finer you crush it, the better the chances of releasing all the gold particles. Wear safety goggles and gloves. Flying shards can be dangerous. Pro tip: always crush your samples outdoors and in a ventilated area. Fine rock dust can be hazardous if inhaled. Step 3. Roasting the crushed rock. Fire's hidden magic. Now comes the ancient art of roasting. Gold often binds to sulfide minerals like arsenopyrite and pyrite. These minerals lock the gold inside, but roasting breaks the bond. When exposed to high heat, sulfur burns off. The rock darkens and the metal becomes free. Spread the crushed rock on a steel plate or metal pan. Light a strong wood or charcoal fire and place the pan atop it. You need to sustain heat for 30 to 60 minutes or until you see color changes and reduced odor. Warning: some rocks release toxic fumes. Always roast outdoors and keep away from children or animals. Wear a mask. Why it works: sulfides burn off and remaining particles, including gold, become easier to separate in the next steps. Step 4. Washing. Let the water work. After roasting, the crushed rock cools. Now we wash it. Place your roasted material into a gold pan or shallow bowl. Use water to gently agitate the crushed rock. The lighter particles, sand, silt, and ash, will wash away with the water, while the heavier material, including gold, will settle to the bottom. Use circular swirling motions. Tilt the pan forward as you gently pour out excess water and light materials. What remains? A dark, heavy concentrate rich in metal particles. You may see tiny flakes of gold beginning to shine now. Pro tip: perform this step near a stream or bucket system. Always use clean water. Do not pour the sludge into soil or drains. It can still contain valuable minerals. Step 5. First panning. Separating gold from black sand. This is the most exciting part. The reveal. With the heavier material left in your pan, begin gold panning techniques. Gold is 19 times heavier than water and significantly heavier than black sand. Use gentle shaking and water swirling to allow the gold to sink to the very bottom. Carefully remove the top layers of black sand using a snuffer bottle or by tilting and tapping. Look closely. Small flakes, dots, or even wire-like strands of gold may begin to appear. In some lucky cases, small nuggets. Take your time. Panning is both skill and patience. Step 6. Magnetic separation. Eliminating iron companions. Your concentrate may still have magnetic minerals like magnetite or hematite. These don't contain gold, but can interfere with final refining. Use a strong magnet wrapped in a plastic bag. Hover it over the pan. Black sands will jump to the magnet, while gold stays put. Once done, peel off the plastic to discard the iron-rich waste. This technique dramatically increases the purity of the final concentrate. Step 7. Secondary washing, fine-tuning the separation. Repeat the washing and panning process 2 or 3 more times. Each cycle helps to eliminate more sand and impurities. By now, your pan should contain gold flakes, tiny beads, and maybe even a pea-sized nugget, nestled in dark but manageable tailings. Professional prospectors often do this dozens of times to get even a gram of gold. But each wash brings you closer to nature's perfection. Those dusty fragments, now poured into a durable metal crucible, are thrust into a furnace. Temperatures soar beyond 1000 degrees, and slowly, the transformation begins. Why fire? Because not all that glitters is gold. Impurities cling to our precious metal like leeches, and the flames force them to let go. Silicates, sulfides, and other debris melt away or rise to the top as slag. The heavier elements, particularly gold, settle at the bottom. As the rock liquefies, a fascinating thing happens. If you've done the process right, you'll start to see distinct separation lines. The impurities rise, the gold concentrates, and now it's time to pour. Using heavy-duty tongs, the crucible is lifted. Slowly, with absolute precision, the glowing contents are poured into a mold. This stage is called casting. The molten material cools fast, within minutes, turning into a hard, rough metal cake. But don't get too excited just yet. That bar isn't pure gold, not even close. It's what miners call a door bar, a mixture of gold, silver, and other metals. Still, it's a proud moment. You've just taken crushed rock and turned it into a visible, solid metal. But the story continues. Remember those crushed particles from earlier? In many cases, they can be separated with just water and gravity. You fill a large pan with the material and swirl it gently. The lighter debris floats. The denser particles, black sand and hopefully gold, sink to the bottom. Over time, skilled hands can swirl away the worthless dust, revealing golden flakes clinging to the edge of the pan. This method is slow but mesmerizingly effective, and it works best with free milling gold, where the gold is not chemically bound within the rock. Still, there's a question. How do you get even finer gold? The invisible kind? That's where the sluice box comes in. Water is directed through a long, slightly inclined box lined with ridges. As the crushed rock is washed down, gold gets caught in the grooves, while lighter material is flushed away. Some gold-bearing rocks contain iron pyrite, also called fool's gold. While it glitters, it's worthless. However, real gold can often be trapped inside these iron minerals. Roasting oxidizes the sulfur and cracks the structure, freeing hidden gold. Then comes magnetics. Crushed ore is passed over a magnet. Iron-rich particles stick. The rest continues, leaving gold behind. Once all these steps are done, crushing, heating, washing, panning, sluicing, roasting, and magnetics, you're left with a concentrate, a heavy mineral-rich mix. And now it's time to melt once more. This time the focus is on refining. Flux is added, borax or sodium carbonate. It helps gather impurities and float them to the top. The result, a more refined melt, and when it cools, You're left with a nugget, not just any nugget, but one that you pulled from stone with your own hands. The surface glimmers. There's no acid, no cyanide, just fire, water, and patience. Nature gave the clues. You followed them. Gold. Real gold. Extracted from what looked like ordinary rock. Because at the heart of every dull stone might be a story waiting to shine. And now you know how to tell it. And just like that, the impossible becomes reality. From the fire-scarred stone to the glimmering heart of the earth itself, we've followed every step of an ancient process, one that still holds power in our modern age. You watched a raw, rugged rock go through the test of flame, the pressure of pounding, the patience of washing, and the swirl of panning, all to release the tiniest spark of gold, a treasure that hides in silence, a prize that waits beneath your feet. But remember this, it's not just about what lies inside the rock. It's about the knowledge you carry to unlock it. They don't exactly tell you this in the bank lobby. They don't print it on your monthly statement. But behind closed doors, deep in boardrooms, there are people who watch you when you lust after raw gold, and not always in admiration. Because raw gold threatens something far more fundamental than your bank account. It threatens their power, their profits, and the entire structure of the modern financial system. We expose why banks are quietly discouraging raw gold ownership, and why buying raw gold is not just a personal purchase, it's a political act. By the end of this story, you'll see raw gold not only as a hedge, but as a challenge to the status quo, with banks urgently trying to steer you away. You feel it in the gold price, don't you? It surges when inflation whispers at your door. It rallies when global uncertainty climbs. Central banks scoop it up in tons, often when other markets tremble. In 2024, for example, demand for gold as an investment asset reached a record $90.6 billion, according to the World Gold Council. And that number has only climbed in first quarter 2025. Physical gold demand surging, central banks increasing holdings, investors turning towards safe havens. If gold is such a coveted asset, then why does your bank act like it's a liability? Why do many financial advisors warn you about raw gold while pushing products with fees, complex instruments, or intangible assets instead? Because raw gold strips away the middlemen. It bypasses many of the profit centers banks rely on: fees for storage, premiums on paper gold, high spreads, complicated financial products. When you hold raw gold, the power shifts more toward you and less toward them. Consider this. ETFs and financial derivatives offer gold exposure without the hassles of physical ownership. Banks love those. You never see raw bars cluttering their vaults unless they're earning interest or insurance from them. And when physical gold is involved, the premiums, the logistics, the regulations, they ensure you always pay for convenience, not for purity or ownership. There's hard data behind that observation. Gold ETFs, exchange-traded funds, in the first half of 2025 saw an inflow of $38 billion, the largest semi-annual addition since early 2020. People want exposure, they want safety. But raw gold, owning bars, coins, or nuggets? That comes with responsibility, risk, and inefficiency, unless you know how to reduce those costs. Banks and financial institutions often discourage raw gold ownership because there are associated costs: storage, insurance, transport, authenticity verification. These are all less profitable for banks when you own the gold outright. If you buy paper gold or gold funds, they benefit from commissions, fees, currency spreads, derivatives trade. The more intermediaries between you and the gold, the more income flows into financial sectors, not into your hands. Also, raw gold is illiquid compared to stocks or bonds. If you want to convert raw gold quickly into cash, you often lose part of its value in buy-sell spreads or shipping. Banks and finance firms understand this intensely, and they position other assets as more liquid, more efficient, more smart. But this is partly psychological control, because you accepting their pivot away from raw gold means more control stays with them. Then there's regulation, Some banks actually block or discourage clients from buying physical gold products, especially in certain countries like China, where banks have flagged or reclassified physical gold products to reduce exposures. It's not always illegal. Often, it's just friction, extra paperwork, higher premiums, lower advice quality, incentivizing you to go with gold funds or ETFs instead. Despite all this, raw gold has something no ETF or bank account can promise: true ownership, zero counterparty risk, and resilience in wartime or financial crisis. During economic storms, currencies collapse, financial systems fail, but gold keeps value. And banks, especially ones with large reserves, know this. That's why central banks continue buying gold even when real yields rise. Because gold is not just investment, it is insurance against collapse. But raw gold doesn't offer dividends or interest. That's a fact banks trumpet loudly. They argue you're losing money by holding gold rather than stocks, bonds, or savings. They point to opportunity cost. And this works psychologically because people naturally compare growth, stocks with non-yielding assets, gold, often neglecting gold's role as a hedge. Here's where the suspension grows. When real interest rates are high, gold tends to underperform because you could put money in bonds or savings and get yield. But when real rates fall or inflation rises, gold outpaces almost everything else. As of early 2025, global economic conditions have pushed many countries toward uncertainty. Inflation pressures, geopolitical risk, supply chain disruptions. In that environment, raw gold shines. Banks anticipate volatility. They dread gold-driven runs because liquidity becomes an issue and their control over capital is challenged. So what does all this mean for you? It means that when your bank discourages raw gold, when your advisor suggests ETFs instead, when you see fees and spreading quoted as reasons not to buy bars, you're witnessing resistance. Resistance against owning something so simple, so old, so powerful, that it doesn't rely on digital systems or bank intermediaries. Your ownership of raw gold diminishes layers of financial control. Once you understand why banks don't want you holding raw gold, you can decide for yourself. You can weigh the costs, compare the benefits, and see if raw gold doesn't become a part of your broader strategy. Not all gold, not all assets, but raw gold, pure, physical, under your control, may be one of the safest wealth anchors in uncertain times. The moment you decide to step outside the bank's comfort zone and hold raw gold in your hand, you'll begin to notice something. The language changes. Suddenly, advisors and brochures use words like inconvenient, outdated, risky. They say gold is for collectors, or inefficient compared to modern instruments. But numbers reveal the real story, and they're far harder to ignore than the carefully chosen phrases of financial marketing. Gold is one of the most liquid commodities. Dealers operate daily, spreads often between 1% to 3% depending on purity and form. Compare that to hidden charges in financial products, currency conversions, ETF liquidation fees, brokerage costs, and the liquidity argument weakens. What the banks truly fear is that raw gold requires no middleman to release your wealth. Think about that the next time someone calls raw gold inefficient. Inefficient for who? For you or for them? Now let's examine performance. Over the last 20 years, gold has outperformed many fiat currencies by wide margins. An ounce of gold in 2005 was worth around $430. By 2025, that same ounce trades near $2,450, a gain of nearly $2,450, 470%. During the same period, the US dollar lost about 30% of its purchasing power due to inflation. Gold doesn't pay dividends, but it silently preserves value across decades, outlasting political promises and bank guarantees alike. Of course, no investment is perfect. Raw gold comes with its own shadows, verification risks, counterfeit products, theft potential. But knowledge reduces those risks. Simple measures like buying from verified dealers, testing with portable density kits, or using third-party vaults can safeguard your position. The point is, these are problems you can control. Unlike the invisible games banks play with derivatives, debt, and inflation. So let's pull the lens back. Why don't banks want you buying raw gold? because it represents independence, because it's one of the few assets immune to manipulation once you hold it, because it competes directly with their products, and because in times of crisis, raw gold makes you less reliant on them. This is not financial advice. It is financial awareness. It's seeing the bigger picture. It's understanding that when the bank discourages raw gold, it's less about protecting you and more about protecting themselves. So if you value independence, if you want to safeguard your purchasing power, and if you want wealth that doesn't vanish with a keystroke, raw gold belongs in your story. You informed, entertained, and empowered as you explore the hidden truths of wealth, gemstones, and gold. Because knowledge is as valuable as the gold itself. Stay with us for more revelations, more strategies, and more untold stories that banks would rather you never hear.
You just saw how some of the ugliest rocks in America can quietly hide gold inside them. Rocks that don't shine, rocks people ignore, rocks most people walk past without a second thought. And yet, inside those rocks, gold begins. But here's the question that almost nobody asks. If gold starts hidden inside rock, how does it end up in your hand? As a nugget. Because nuggets don't just appear. They don't form on the surface. They don't sit there waiting to be picked up. They come from somewhere. They move. They change location. And once you understand that movement, everything starts to make sense. So let me ask you something. Have you ever imagined holding a real gold nugget? Not dust, not flakes, but a solid, heavy piece of gold. Something formed millions of years ago. Something that traveled through time, just to end up in your hand. It sounds rare, almost impossible, like something that only happened in the past. But here's the truth. It's still happening today. Right now, across the United States, and the only reason most people never find it is because they're looking in the wrong places. Now think back to those ugly rocks again. Inside them, gold forms under pressure, heat, fluids moving through cracks, tiny amount of gold gathering slowly over time. But those rocks don't stay perfect forever. They break, they crack, they erode. And when that happens, gold is released, not all at once, not in obvious ways, but slowly, piece by piece, into the environment. And once that happens, the journey begins. Now let me ask you this. If something heavy, like gold, is released from rock, what force do you think moves it? Wind, gravity, or something stronger? Because there is one force that shapes almost every gold discovery in America. Water. And that's where the first place begins. Not in a mine, not underground, but in something people see every day and completely underestimate. A river, at first glance. It looks ordinary. Water flowing, rocks shifting. Nothing unusual. But underneath that movement, something very precise is happening. Gold is being sorted. Now think about it. Water carries everything. Sand, gravel, debris. But not everything moves the same way. Gold is heavy, much heavier than anything around it. So instead of flowing freely, it resists movement. It slows down faster, and because of that, it settles. But not randomly, always in very specific locations. Now here's where I want you to think carefully. If water suddenly slows down, where do you think the heaviest material goes? Does it keep moving, or does it drop? Because that one moment, that tiny change in energy, is where gold begins to collect. Behind rocks, inside bends, deep in cracks, places most people don't even notice. Now imagine that happening over and over again, for years, decades, even centuries. Small amounts of gold building up in the same spots, and suddenly, what looks like an ordinary river is quietly producing gold, again and again and again. But here's the part most people get wrong. They search where the water is strongest, where it moves fast, where it looks powerful. But the real gold is usually where the energy disappears, where things slow down, where movement pauses. And in those quiet moments, gold stays behind. Now connect this to what you saw before. Gold starts inside rock. Rock breaks down. Water carries what's released. And then the river sorts it. So now the question becomes, is the river the source of gold? Or is it just revealing something that started somewhere else? Because that leads to the second place. And this one changes everything. At first, it doesn't even look like it belongs in the same conversation. Dry land, heat, dust, almost no water. Nothing about it suggests gold. But this is where most people make their biggest mistake. Because what you see now is not what existed before. These dry landscapes were once alive with water. Ancient rivers, powerful flows, systems that moved gold just like the rivers you see today. But over time, everything changed. The water disappeared, the land dried out, and what was left behind stayed exactly where it settled. Now let me ask you something. If a river carried gold thousands of years ago and then vanished, what happens to the gold? Does it disappear too? Or does it remain right where it was last dropped? This is what people call fossil rivers, ancient pathways, invisible from the surface, but still holding everything they once carried. And here's the part that makes this powerful. Most people don't look for gold in places without water. So these areas remain untouched, ignored, overlooked, even though they follow the exact same pattern as active rivers. Now imagine standing in a dry desert, no flowing water, no obvious signs, just land, quiet, still. But beneath that surface, gold is sitting there, waiting, because nothing moved it after the water disappeared. And this is why some of the richest gold discoveries don't happen in rivers at all. They happen in places people think are empty. But now, let's go deeper, because there's a third place. And this one brings everything back to where it started. Rock, but not just any rock. Not the obvious kind. Not the shiny kind. The kind you already saw, ugly, rough, ignored. Because sometimes gold never travels far. Sometimes it stays close to its origin, locked inside rock formations that haven't fully broken down yet. Now think about this. If gold forms inside rock, and that rock is only partially eroded, where would the gold be? Fully exposed, or still hidden inside? This is where things get interesting, because in certain areas, you can find both. Gold still inside rock, and gold already released into the environment, side by side. Now imagine what that means. It means you're not just looking at the result. You're standing at the source, the beginning of the entire system. And this is where most people fail completely, because they're searching for gold, but ignoring the rocks that create it. Let me ask you something. If you had to choose, would you search for what's already been found? Or would you look for where it's still forming? Because those ugly rocks you saw before are not just random. They're signals, clues, indicators of a much bigger system. And when you connect all three places, the river, the dry land, the rock, you start to see something different. Not separate locations, but a process, a cycle. Gold forms, gold moves, gold settles. And once you understand that cycle, you stop guessing, you stop searching blindly, and you start predicting. Now think about this. If gold keeps appearing in certain places, again and again, is it really luck? Or is it something repeatable? Because this is what experienced prospectors understand. They don't chase gold, they follow patterns. So next time you see a river, you won't just see water, you'll see movement, energy, sorting. Next time you stand in a desert, you won't see emptiness, you'll see history, ancient pathways, hidden deposits. And next time you pick up an ugly rock, you won't ignore it. You'll question it, because that's the difference between someone who hopes to find gold and someone who actually does. And this is only the beginning, because there are still places where all of these conditions come together, where the system becomes even stronger, even more predictable. And once you see those, you won't just understand gold. You'll know where to find it before anyone else does. So now the real question is, where will you look next?